G'day everyone, welcome to my TED Talk. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to the first episode of Real Talk. Actually, it's been this new idea that I've been sitting on for a while now, and I've really wanted to start it, so here I am. Thank you to everyone for sending in your recommendations for the first topic. The topic that I ended up choosing for today's episode is the school system. And for those who actually know me personally will know that this is a very touchy subject for me, because I can probably go on about it for hours, but I'm going to try my best to condense it down into about 20 to 30 minutes. But I've got a few notes with me to try help me as well, but I'm going to try cover everything I possibly can in this video. And this is going to be the first video of Real Talk, and the aim is to have real conversations with real people and just make it uncut as possible and really try to connect with you guys. So yeah, I just thought it would be interesting for maybe you guys to see what it's like through a perspective of someone who's growing up. I'm only 17 at the moment, so I'll be coming through and entering the real world very soon when I graduate. And yes, this is just going to be my thoughts and opinions on the school system. Oh, actually, before I get into any of my points, I do just want to clarify that this is purely just my opinion, so I don't want anyone to take it to heart. It's not fact. I don't even know if you guys can hear me right now because of the wind, but I'm going to try my best. So I try not to speak too loudly because I'm insecure of neighbours hearing me and shit, but oh well. So first stop point that I have is just the fact that this probably bugs me the most as well, or maybe the second most, is that the fact that it just doesn't fit everyone. I like to think that there are probably, this is probably just generalising it, but in terms of how we learn and what we like to do, there's creative people and there's analytical people. So that's just very generalization. That's a very general statement. But what I mean by that is that some people will love to analyze numbers, they'll love to study, they'll love the classic read books, learn sort of thing. But then there'll be the others, like I classify as myself, where we like to get a bit more hands-on, do more practical work. We like to do work where you can actually see the application of where you're trying to apply it in whatever you're trying to study. So, for example, a subject that does this really well, I think, is, say for example, there's the creative people may like to actually create things, like ITD, for example, woodwork, metalwork. They actually get to create things like benches and toolboxes and stuff like this, and that'll really help them go out into the real world and pick up a trade as a job. But then there's the other side, the analytics, the typical learning. For example, your doctors, you have to love studying, very rigorous. Your accountants, your lawyers, jobs like that, and it just doesn't fit everyone. And I guess that comes under standardizing. It kind of standardizes everyone's like it really bugs me how grades, like everyone has this thing in their head that these tests define your intelligence, if you know what I mean. Like I've seen it plenty of times where people have called themselves dumb, stupid, and it really destroys them because they get these results back from these tests, and it may not be as well as what they wanted to do. It may not be a subject that they particularly enjoy. It may not be what they're good at, but it makes them feel crap inside because they're thinking that they haven't done it as well as they should have, or something like that. But what you have to realize is that it's standardized. It's kind of like putting everyone in one box. It's like trying to create a mold of what intelligence should be. But for example, I've seen firsthand some people. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen, some people are really, really good at English, but they may not be good at math. But they've labelled themselves as dumb because these other subjects their results haven't accumulated to the results that they may have particularly wanted. But they could be really good at English. They could read heaps. They could speak very good English. They could be very fluent in their writing and grammar and punctuation. But they will always have the image in their head that they are stupid or dumb because these general knowledge tests are given to us and we're just expected to be good at it, and expected that if you just study it, you'll be really good. And same thing with people. It may not even be a subject. Some people may love their music. They may love playing guitar. They can play an instrument really well, but the school system has created this mold of intelligence, and all of our intelligence is purely based off academic and rigorous study. When personally, I think it should be more based off intelligence. Intelligence should be more so based off of what someone is good at and catering towards someone's strengths. For example, I know people that really love the game of basketball. They're training nearly every day. They're hiring coaches. They're playing in multiple teams. But at the end of the day, the school system, and the thing is, we go through for 13 years. If you're in Australia, you go prep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 12. So it's 13 years, and your intelligence, and I guess it's also nearly success as well. Your intelligence, they teach you, will correlate to your success. So you think, for example, these athletes, because they're really good at basketball, but they may not be so good at schoolwork, for example, that their intelligence is lacking and therefore they're not going to succeed. The image of always having a backup plan is in their head as well. It's almost as if following one thing or following one dream just isn't good enough. You need academic rigor and study. But it's just, I just don't understand it. It really ticks me off. And I guess second point, along with this, this second point kind of ties in to the standardization, but the school system literally has not changed since the Industrial Revolution, and I don't understand it. I just don't understand. You look at anything in life now, whether it's sport, whether it's art, whether it's technology, it's all changed since the Industrial Revolution. That's what the Industrial Revolution was. It was a big change in the way we live today because factories were being built, and the working class was right up here. If you could get a stable job, you were considered, you were doing really well. So that's what the school system taught the generations before us. They taught these tests so that they could gain skills to get these factory jobs and the typical labourer jobs, because that's what was needed back then. And it's funny because You can ask your parents, you can ask certain teachers, you can ask anyone, and there's lots of similarities between the stuff we're learning today and the stuff they learnt back then. One of my teachers actually noticed that we were reading the book 1984 in English right now, and it's amazing because he read the same book when he was in school, and from memory I think that was around 20 odd years ago. And then a teacher who's even older than him has read the same book, and he would have been at school 40 odd years ago, so it just hasn't changed at all. Whereas today we live in a completely different society to back then. The technology we have today is absolutely crazy, and the cost of living and the cost of everything goes up. So, you know, these labourers' jobs that are going out of work because our technology is now evolving, so we can get rid of some of them. For example, if you're in marketing, the school system will tell you now that marketing is, like, for example, when I did business class, they're still teaching you to make flyers, still teaching you to make little business cards, still telling you to, you know, buy storefronts, put signs out the front, buy billboards, stuff like that. But what they don't realise is that won't work anymore, because our technology has evolved, and we now can use social media and digital marketing. So, you know, your typical jobs that were in the marketing in sales before have now gone out of style, and now you can just hire someone to do social media for you. But we're not taught that. The other thing around not evolving is that the social norms, I guess, are very different back then to what it is now. Now, back then, I'm not saying that, you know, 90 odd years ago, mental health problems, racial group problems, you know, all the other minorities, I don't doubt that, you know, discrimination and all that existed, but we live in a society today where it's more openly spoken about, and it should be educated more in schools. I don't know why it's not, but yeah, it's quite amazing. We're just taught purely academic integrity, and pretty much everyone is kind of left to kind of discover what's right and wrong by themselves, if that makes sense. And I guess even something as simple as communication skills, I think, would be very valuable in the schooling system today. So have classes where you actually learn, you know, like personal development sort of thing. So I think, honestly, it would be great if we could integrate academics with then self-development and kind of mix those two together, so you can learn the practical side of things, you know, like, so on the self-development, learn how to learn how to connect with people, learn how to hold real conversations, learn how to speak properly. I think you'd be very, very surprised at the amount of people that don't quite know, or not, it's not that they don't know English, but you can tell the difference between, you can certainly tell the difference between someone who's very educated with their language and someone who's not. And that's going to sound bad, but knowing how to, present yourself when you speak and things like that is very practical to know when you're going for things like job interviews and meeting new people, meeting potential clients, stuff like that. So I think that should be integrated with also the other side of academics, where it's more the knowledge-based side, the study, all that stuff. So mixed together, that would be awesome. And I think it'd benefit greatly on mental health, because I'm not an expert on mental health. I don't generally talk about it that much. I'm just going to turn ISO up one notch. Hopefully you guys can see me a bit better, but I think mental health is one of the biggest issues that that people my age or young teenagers or pretty much anyone is experiencing, because the way that the system is set up now, it's meant to be empowering us. It's meant to be moving us and motivating us to go out and really find what we're good at, what we like doing, and just chasing a dream every day. But I think the problem is it doesn't teach us enough. It's almost like the real world and school are like two separate things. So like outside of school, you've got lots of expectations about what a beautiful woman or a girl is, or the typical makeup of being a man, or being manhood in general. And you've got things like people like comparing yourself to others, other people trying to make their lives seem great, so then you're brought down. But then when you're in school, you're not taught anything about how to see through what's real and what's not. You're not taught to not compare yourself to others. You're not taught to accept yourself. You're not taught, you're not really given much or many tools. Like they always tell you if you're having trouble, they always tell you kind of as like a brush off sort of thing. Like they don't want the responsibility of you actually talking to them and trying to have a conversation about your mental health. They're kind of like, oh, you got this helpline, we've got counsellors, all that, and they kind of just tell you that. But it's not integrated to what we're learning. That makes sense. Like techniques, I think we should have a class that kind of at least like teaches maybe some breathing techniques, or maybe even encourages students to just a socialization sort of big part of the mental health. I think a big part of overcoming that would be to having a self-development class where students can explore what their talents are, explore what they want. And I think it should be encouraged to have a class where a student can choose what they want to do. So for example, I myself, to improve my mental health, I would love it if a class was implemented where I could come in and I could talk about the passion I have about photography and filmmaking, and stuff like that, or like just tips to like just train your mind to eliminate more negative thoughts and implement more positive thoughts. Teach more about the basic pillars to what we perceive as a good, good life. So like health, wealth, love and happiness, I think are the main ones, and it would benefit greatly to be taught, how to manage our money, how we can make more money, how we can, save so we're not always stressed, and then how to look after our bodies as well, which I think also ties into the mental health and physical health sort of thing. So, have classes where we're taught, some of the side effects of having bad addictions, or, helping us, giving us some, it's hard to think because I don't know the answers. I'm trying to just purely think from my perspective, but learning more about dieting well and benefits from that, and then learning how to connect with others and build meaningful relationships with others, not just with a partner but with friends as well. And then happiness, obviously. When you have the other three, happiness kind of tags along, and what a class kind of, maybe not even a class, but at least just a session or something like that, just something where we can figure out for ourselves what brings us happiness, and what we can perceive happiness to be. So I think I'm just gonna up the, I know the quality may drop here, but it's getting kind of dark, so you might have to bear with me. But what else? Yeah, I think so. Pretty much to summarize, I think if we change the system to fit our society more and our technological revolution more, implemented self-development, kind of like self-development, and then actual academic stuff, and if we just combined them, I think that would be much better. And above all of that, I think if we do implement those things, it'll also improve the school environment, because I know, being a student firsthand, no one wants to admit the type of environment that it is. Everyone wants to think that it's all happy and everyone gets along, but at the end of the day, especially coming from my personal experience, I've never been bullied, and bullying, I think, has been handled really well. That's something that is done in schools now. I think schools do a good job at controlling that, but it's more so the mental things, like judgments of others and opinions and stereotypes, and like little boundaries of what we should be doing as opposed to what we want to be doing. I think that'll affect a lot of people, because it's I don't want to say this out of like pity for myself or anything, but being into something a bit different, like videography and photography, you do kind of get I get judged quite a bit. I got other people thinking I'm weird, or thinking that I'm not like your typical bloke. Like, that's another thing. I don't drive like a four-wheel drive, and you wouldn't think it would actually affect like, you wouldn't think all these things would affect the way that you learn at school, but it does in a way, because you've always got it at the back of your mind. Like, you've always got other people's judgments and opinions in the back of your mind, but I think it should be normalized and taught in classes that we should be able to normalize being, like, not necessarily radical, but having a sense of individuality. And because I'm not saying it's completely destroyed in the current school system. I'm not saying that, they all make you into robots, but it's just not promoted. And I think it should be promoted more, that we encourage more individuality, because I know people who get judged for wanting to be a professional sports player. I know people who want to do music. I know people who want to be doctors, they want to be vets. And the number one thing that comes up in conversation when you speak to them is they say, oh, everyone tells me, that, like, I should have a backup plan, or that I may not make it, or something like that. And I think it's very, very destroying. Or I know that some people, aren't using social media as a platform to boost their talents. And I know that people aren't very open about it, such as myself, because everyone else's judgments and opinions scare them. And I think the school system should teach us ways to nurture our gifts and talents. Because, for example, I originally had a plan to be like an engineer when I started school, because I thought it was creative. And it was, honestly, in the junior grades, creating houses, creating, objects on Inventor and stuff like that was really good. But then as it progresses into senior, it became more analytical, more structured, more rigorous work. So I I know now that I want to be a creative person. I love getting behind the camera, taking photos, and then creating, like, really captivating images and, short little films with meaning. And, it took me some time to be open about it, because when people, even still now, when some people ask me, what do I want to do, after school, I'm going to use, just by the way, I've had to pull out my phone, because I've gone, on such a tangent that it's getting pretty dark, so I might have to wrap this up soon. But something I struggled with was opening up about what I wanted to do, and I still do sometimes. Like, I just say, I want to be an engineer, or I've been thinking about studying engineering, because that's what our sense of security has been taught to be in the school system. It's taught to be getting, a job that requires you to work 50 hours a week for the next 50 years, and, just live in one spot, be broke for ages, go to uni, study for 8 years, and go through all that just to get a boring job, and that'll really crush you. But I'm thankful now that I've had to watch many hours of videos about self-development, and I've done many things to, develop my mindset and improve myself to the point where now I care less about what people think, and I'm more open that has personally helped me be more open about what I want to do now, make a full-time income off hopefully photography, videography, content creation, stuff like that. And I think that's what needs to be implemented more into schools, to be able to empower the youth and make every single person that sits in that classroom think that they can achieve something big and that they can do whatever they want. Because, you know, it's crazy. Like, there's so much potential when you look at people who are, you know, superstars, you know, mega famous, mega rich, world leading innovators. They always tell the same story of coming from absolutely nothing and being to break out of that system that has been created. And, you know, they all did it because, you know, they worked on themselves and they knew their self-worth. They unlocked their full potential, because I can guarantee you every single person that sits in the classroom when you next go into it, or if you're a teacher, everyone that stands before you, there is a lot of potential in the youth, in the gifts that they have been given. And I think we just need to do better overall to unlock that. So I'm going to try to finish up now because it is getting pretty dark, and, you know, but it's basically, yeah, to recap, I think it obviously needs to change, needs to empower us, not bore us. The actual learning content, I think, needs to catch up to date with the technology and the job opportunities that are now in our present world. Social issues and social skills need to be integrated more into the curriculum, enable for us to be able to get a better understanding of ourselves and issues that happen outside of the world. And yeah, so that was the first episode of Real Talk. I think I probably went off on a bit of a tangent plenty of times, and this is probably going to be, you know, longer than I expected or whatever, but, you know, the aim of it is to have real conversations with real people. So feel free to debate anything that I've said. Let me know in the comments, or just shoot me a quick message. Yeah, I'll be happy to have a discussion with you. And if you want to suggest any further topics that I should talk about in the future, or ask me any questions, then I'll be happy to answer them on the next episode. And potentially even if you want to have a conversation with me and we can record a video, then, you know, feel free to message me. So if you enjoyed it, if you guys enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a comment, do whatever you want. I don't really care, but I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.